Thanks so much for joining me. Today we're going to do a swan. My palette's a little dirty, so I have it sitting over here to the side. I'm using the same palette that I used in a previous painting. But I set I lay out my palette the same every single time. This time, however, I'm going to be using a lot of white. So this is a swan. The swans are white. However, when we paint them, most of the time there's a very small amount of white in whatever the subject matter is. So in this instance, we're painting a swan. There's going to be some pure white, but not a lot. So when we do our painting of whatever the object is, we actually have other colors undertoned or mixed in so that it's not a pure white and that it shows up, because white on white is not going to show up. It's not going to give you any depth. So we're going to start this out by painting our background as usual, and our background is going to be watered down, almost like watercolor painting, because we do not want it to take over the painting. We want to push it in the background. So we're going to paint it first, and then we're going to paint something on top of it. And it tricks the eye in a way that you want it to, and it'll look like there's depth in your painting. So we're going to have greenery here, sort of green and brown for trees or shrubs that's in the background, and water. So we have water in the midground, and we have water here in the foreground. The water in the foreground is going to look a little messier because we want it to look like there's a shadow there. Ripples and a reflection, excuse me, not a shadow, a reflection. Excuse me. So I haven't decided what color I'm going to use for my swan. This background is going to be green and some blue. So we're going to put some green in there. And of course, that's not the shade of green that I prefer. So we're going to add a little blue to it, darken it up. And because, let's go to the side, go to the side, and of course up here. And yeah, and we need brown, so we're going to take a little red with that green. Red is a bully. I don't care what shade you use. The red is going to be a bully. One thing I hate is when I buy these greens already made. I can't tell what color they are. And let's clean that off. It looks purple. So I have an ultramarine blue here. And I have some yellow. That'll give me a rich green. It's giving me a richer green than what I already had over there. And then I'm going to use a little red. And I'm not too sure what type of red this is. But red and green are complementary colors. And it'll give me brown. And between, we need the browns. And this is water. And we're going to put a little of that in there too. Color harmony. So now we'll clean this off. Don't generally use black, but I'm going to use a little black here. on the bank here, here. There, we're going to wash that off. And we want this watered down. Why? Because that's too vibrant. We don't want it too light though. Now, that's the difference in this painting. Because our subject matter is going to be a light color, we don't want our background too light. We may have to go back in and do some of those colors back. But we'll deal with that later. For now, we're going to do that. Around the head. So we can have that background a little darker than the normal, our normal background color, because the subject matter is light. So to make the subject matter stand out, we make the background a little darker. This is going to be water, but you know what? As I'm sitting here looking, yes, I'm changing it. I'm going to give it a little bank here. In here. So I need some more brown in there. Still have a little brown here. Not enough. So we have to make a little bit more brown. Blue and yellow make green all day long. Blue and yellow make green, and kisses of red will give you that rich evergreen color. And then if you keep adding it, it'll give you that brown. Go back up with the trees. Super, super wet, so that's what's happening there. No worries, we'll let that dry. We're going to let that dry somewhat. Don't be afraid to make small adjustments to your paintings as you go. It's your painting. You can do it. That you can do. It's your painting. And I always paint a little over the subject matter so we don't have that halo, which is fine. So now here we have our water, and our water is normally blue, but it's usually not that gorgeous blue that we see near tropical islands. So it's not that blue-green color. In fact, sometimes it looks like a nice or dirty color. Okay, so we're going to use our blue. Using the color straight out the bottle is never good, so we're going to just go ahead and put that in here. Straight out of the container. Water's going to go sideways. I'm going to cheat. Big time cheat. Because I rarely use black. For my straight coloring here, I've never used so much black in my life. Now, when I first started painting, I did use black. But black will throw everything off. Black will act like red. It will take over the painting. It will take over the painting. It will turn into a bully, like the red does. The difference is black will absorb all of the light, which means when someone looks at your painting, wherever there's black, it's going to suck the light and it's going to suck their attention. That's just what it does. The red, when you add it to a color, it will devour it. It will just take over the color. So anytime you have to add red to a color, you want to add small amounts at a time. Very small amounts at a time. And I like the way this green is looking in here. So I just mix up a little bit more green to add here and there. It's an ugly color. That'll work just fine. I'm gonna put enough on there to paint the sides too. That's one thing about it. I'm gonna tell you, it's really hard unless you're a colorist. I like to call it. Reminds me of same as hair coloring. When you're doing hair color, you need to know what colors you're working with so that you can replicate them. Now, I've seen some people match the colors up perfectly, but it's tedious and time consuming with measuring which amounts is what. So remember to get that color back there, that dark, dirty color. I cheated by adding some black. So I have to add some black up here too. Remember, I still want it to look dark. So coloring in all of these sides in. But doing it dark. Side to side because the water's going side to side. See if we got a little of that green left over there. And I'm going to leave that dark. See how that white pops out? Normally our backgrounds are not this dark. And I'm going to leave them kind of sloppy. I want them to look sloppy. Now, we can concentrate on our gorgeous swan. I'm going to go to the smaller brush. Let's see. So, the swan is going to be white. We're going to add other colors to it. So what I'm going to do here, up here, I don't really care much to worry about the eyeball, but I'm going to put white up here. And white here. just for later when I come in with some more color. I don't worry about the eyeballs. I just need to know where the eyeball is, because eyeballs are best painted last and using the handle of the brush. So we have it up around there. Now I have a feather, a wing here. Not sure if you can see that. I have a wing here, so I definitely have to put some color under there. Where these lines are, I'm going to definitely have to put some color there so that you can tell the difference. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash that brush off, and I'm going to use blue. The beak with the bill, I think, is like an orangey color, so we're going to go ahead and put some orange there. And this is a bright orange. And we know it doesn't look like this. Now this is going to have some black on it because it has black on it. But in painting, we normally don't use black. We normally use a dark color and call it black. That's that there. I'm going to put some red on part of it to darken it up in spots. It's wet on wet paint. When you're painting wet on wet, it's a little trick to it. And to keep you from being frustrated, we normally tell you to let it dry in between. So this is some of that brown that was left on my canvas from the brown I added in the background. We don't really want the red there, but we want the red there. See that? It gives it a shading kind of color. We need just a little more yellow on there. Because I'm using, I want to use blue. I use blue and green a lot. Because I want to use blue, my black, I did add black in there. So I'm going to add some black into my blue and make it a Prussian blue color. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a little yellow to make that beak pop. Some of these things are better done using wet paint so that it blends and you're not doing so much work. So I'm going to blend sort of on the painting itself. I want the painting to do the work for me. So there's black around in here, and I want to use blue. I'm going to create it by using an ultramarine blue and a touch of black. It's going to give me a dark blue color. And that's going to be what we call a Prussian blue. It's so dark and rich. I'm going to use it underneath this feather. Now, if you see it, looks almost the same as that. You see that? So I'm going to use it there. And right where the neck here, these lines where the feathers back here, there's a wing. That wing's going to come somewhere up in here. See that? And there's another one right in here. It peaks right in here. See that peak there? There's a peak right here. Now here and here isn't going to go over so well, but I'm going to come back and address that. This is underneath, so I'm going to wash that brush off. And I'm going to come here to the white. See this here? I'm going to come in here where this is and stroke it up. I'm pulling pieces of this, let me turn it. I'm pulling pieces of this blue here. Only slightly turning it, using the shape of the wing and pulling it back. And for here, it's going to go up and over. So you must paint in this way. Don't just paint straight. Tell your brain to go up and over the wing. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go up and over the wing. Pulling this blue here, I'm going up and over the wing. And it causes it to have the shape I want. You see that? Now for these wings here, I need them to come little short choppies going around these wings. Up and over here. Short choppies, short choppies. See that? Same thing here. Short choppies. And this is why you need the paint to be wet. I'm going around the feathers. Short choppies, we go right over. And when you look at it, see? But when you look at it far off, it's going to read white. Even though it's not going to be white, it's going to read as white. So that's what I need for the rest of these. Follow the contour, the shape of the feather. And this paint I'm putting on, it got dirtied up by this blue, and it's perfectly okay. So here, feather, 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 and body. Short choppy strokes because these are feathers. They're not all solid. Now here, just point. See that? Now, we have this underneath here. Now, here's the trick for these. We'll do the same thing on this neck. To come down. You want the neck to appear long and sleek and not choppy. See that? Long and sleek. We're using long, sleek strokes. I'm going to clean this line up with straight white paint. But for this, we want that dirty blue paint. It's white paint mixed with that blue. I just came up there with that white. It needs to be shadow around there. So I'm going in here and painting around where the feathers are. For this, right here where the water is, splashing up on it, I can show the long, sleek neck. See that? A little down there because the reflection of the water is going to hit those bottom feathers. And if they're white, they're going to look kind of odd. Following the shape of the neck up here. Because I want you to be able to see the difference. You can't really tell the difference in here. The neck is blending with these feathers down there. And I want it to stand out, but not too much. So I'm going to turn this, let's see, and put the shadow on the body, but not so much. I want the shadow on the neck. So I'm doing that, and then I'm going to come in here with the white and choppy, pull it in to the body. So it stands out. You can see a difference now. And I need to go back up here and put shadow here. A little too much. And just lightly drag it down so that it makes the beak look closer to you by putting the shadow underneath there. This feels like I took too much of the shadow off. But the beak has to cast a shadow on the neck of the bird, so it'll look like it's in front. on it lightly. I want it to look a little lighter, but not too much. I hate to take that white off there. White's in there. It's supposed to have a little darkness on it. And this is that Prussian blue. I'm going to add just a touch more black to that color, because I want it to look darker than this background.